Good evening, how are you? Well, it's 91 degrees out, and it's 65 is the humidity, so tells me Thomas Jefferson, and the wind is at 3.5 miles an hour. Not that I noticed that. It's somewhat darker out. I don't know if that makes a difference to the heat, but it feels like it does. How many of you saw the movie Serpico? Now, you don't have to have seen it for what I'm going to say, but it was a story of Serpico and how he believed so strongly in bringing down the corrupt. And that included cops, and he was a cop. And at some point, he despairingly says to his girlfriend, who is a little tired of his fixation on doing what's right, just because he talks about it all the time, and he can't figure out a way to deal with it. Sound familiar? And so at one point he says he feels that there's a fountain, a well, and those who drink from it see things one way, that is the corrupt way. And I haven't had a drink from that well, so I don't see it that way. We have a prime example of that, I suppose, among the Trump people, although it's not as poetic, if that could be appropriate for the movie Serpico. And Serpico is an original. He's a real person. And those of us in New York saw him from time to time. And he risked his life to tell the truth about corrupt cops. Now, what do we have in the Trump administration? It is to lie at all costs, in every direction. I'm near some pigs, my pigs. Lie in order to achieve an objective. Now, you may remember a guy, Beauvais, kind of a serpentine look for me, who was defense counsel for Trump in the conviction that resulted in Trump being found guilty for 34 counts. I can't really say it was bad lawyering because I thought the case was overwhelming, so there is that. But he was rewarded by going to the Justice Department, which I believe is properly called the Injustice Department. And now he's been nominated by the president to be a U.S. Circuit Court judge for the Third Circuit. I think New Jersey and a number of other states that would be in that circuit. Now, it turns out that somebody's pointed the finger at him, telling lawyers to lie in cases in court. Now, this is a sweet one because you know the underlying facts once you see the connections. You remember that Garcia was spirited out of the country for El Salvador, but there was an order that prohibited that from happening. And a lawyer stood up in court and told the judge that it was an error and that he should not have gone there. There's a joking conversation between Beauvais and the whistleblower in which it said, well, one of us may get fired. Well, who do you think got fired? The whistleblower, of course. And he filed a statement detailing how Beauvais was saying that lawyers should go into court and lie about the facts and refuse the orders. And he wanted those planes to leave and he wanted them to go and he didn't care what the court said. And this is a fella who wants to be a judge, so recently directing lawyers to ignore court orders. Now, this is more than unethical. Unethical should be obvious. You cannot instruct someone as a lawyer to go into court and lie. We have all sorts of rules about that. Some are criminal, some are procedural, civil and criminal. And so any lawyer, particularly litigators, trial lawyers who are in court all the time making presentations, to judges. No. I mean, it's one thing to make an error, but this was not an error. I don't know exactly how to condemn him, but he's worst of the worst. One of these oleaginous people, oily, who, will be whomever you want them to be. And there's some evidence that he has skill and a background to understand what he was doing. So he knew what he was doing, and his loyalty to a criminal objective was more important than the oath of office he took and the criminal and ethical exposure that surrounds this kind of conduct. Now, the White House, of course, has taken Beauvais' stand. Oh, what if this isn't true, and so forth. But there were a number of people in the room, if you will. So it is clear that the evidence is on the side of Beauvais. Now, Senator Durbin looks forward to inquiring about this information, because tomorrow, get this, is Beauvais' appearance before the Judiciary Committee on whether or not the Senate will consent to the nomination by the president, that asshole, to join the judges on the Third Circuit. Now, if I was a judge on the Third Circuit, I'd volunteer to appear before the committee and say, we do not want him among us. So the most senior judge in that circuit would be the judge who could, in my opinion, come forward. Is it unusual? Yes, but it's also quite unusual that a person who wants to be a judge has been telling people only days before his nomination that they should lie to the court and they should ignore the court's orders. So that's the story. Now, I hope I have the freedom tomorrow to listen hour by hour to this guy spinning stories about how he's a good person. I think that would be a reckoning, if you will, and we've had too few of those. And if I were to cross a judge, I could imagine them being upset with me. And I can tell you, in a lifetime of appearing in court, I've managed not to piss off any judges to that point, I suppose. Although I did have one judge on a state circuit court case in which it was a capital case, and the judge found me frustrating, and he told other judges he was thinking maybe he should hold me in contempt, and they discouraged him from doing it. As a judge, I had a lot of respect for, actually, but we didn't understand each other at first. But we found our way together. So, but that's very different than this guy. Contesting a point with a judge vigorously is different than lying to a judge, is different than arguing for law that you know is not valid, like the AEA. And so that's this guy all rolled up in a bowl. Now, everybody's talking about this like it's a hypothetical. How, as a senator, do you consent and advise the president this guy should be in the court when you have that information? I mean, the absolute best thing that Beauvais could do is to keep his mouth shut, because whatever he says under oath, and that is a question, will the Republican chair put him under oath? I once did an investigation of a case, and they had not put certain people under oath before the Senate Labor Committee. And everybody scratched their heads why they didn't do that. And some thought it facilitated the withholding of material information from that U.S. Senate committee. So here we are, and I may be a little short today. I've never been that tall. Maybe a little short today because of the temperature and what I have to do to a few animals before I lose the light. So I want to say good evening to you from my field of animals and nice things. And with any luck, I'll be talking to you tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.